Hey there and welcome to the central tower build. So next step is fitting all of the floors and the exterior walls. This is not the final step, even though it might end up looking almost finished. There'll be final details, like I've still got to make the lift shaft top, the front wall for the top of the stairwell, but that will come in due course. This is about taking care of fitting the floors and then fitting the walls. So first up, I need to fit the floors into place so that I can fit the walls into place, and that will involve checking the fit on these slots, because having painted them you add depth to the material, and it might seem like nothing, but it can be the difference between wedging it in and not. And with this material, the paint scrapes off pretty easily. It lies very flat and lovely, but it also comes off a little bit easier than I would like it to the point where I'm half even considering varnish, but no. So first of all, it's going to be a case of seeing if these things fit, no forcing whatsoever. So in these slots, don't push the boards into the slot if there's any resistance at all, just don't do it. And then it'll be a case of taking sandpaper to the top and edges of these slots, always expanding upwards in this case because the bottom edge is correct for the stairwells, etc. So that means everything's already lined up in that respect. So the only thing left is the upward elevation, so always sanding the top edges. So first up, I'm just going to fit the floors into all of these slots before setting about fixing them in place. Here we've got all of the floors fitted into place then. This is just sanding slotted, no glue's been used so far. So first step's going to be starting to glue the bottom floor into place. So if I just come down here, you see I can lift it still. So what I'm going to have to do is lift and glue along the top edge of this wall and then just sit it back down, making sure that all of these rungs are aligned properly, because that would be a nuisance if they weren't. I don't want to ever pull these floors out again, because if I pull them out I risk the paintwork all just peeling away, especially in that corner, just the far corner. Focused on the near thing, focus on the far thing. That corner just there, I could see the paint lifting as I was pushing it in. I'm a bit like But the other nice thing is, look, you can start to see how it will work as an environment now that it's sort of partially assembled. And even considering maybe doing a whole load of these kind of things just as walkways for sort of malls or what have you, because I think they could work well as just useful bits of terrain to have. But next up, I'm just going to get this gluing done. I'll get that glued in place and I'll be back with you to show the next step. Here you go then, this floor is now glued into place. As you can see, it doesn't move. I didn't even try to glue in along here. The glue starts on the tops of these and runs all around the top edge of this wall, the top edge of this wall there. So you've got these tops of these pillars, tops of the pillars on the other side, tops of these pillars, all just for alignment purposes as much as anything. And the top edge of this wall and the other two, so the two long walls, which are the two walls I could get to, and I just noticed where there's glue that's run down the side and formed lumps. Oops-a-daisy, stupid me. Oh, yeah, okay, so I made some mess as well. Oopsie. But onwards. So the next step is to start fixing the walls. So the walls will fix flush, and because the interiors of the walls haven't got any staff on them, my point of contact is like so. And interesting. So the other thing I'm just finding out now is if I bring you up, there's a slight misalignment here. Sorry, I'm just doing this by hand whilst I'm holding it, it's awkward as hell. So what I'm going to have to do is just realign this top floor so that those corners mesh up properly before I start the gluing process. This is going to be very important because misalignments at this point are no good. The other thing I'm going to find out when I'm doing this is if I've beveled everything correctly. So I am going to go and I'm going to faff with this, get it aligned, and I'm going to get all of these walls, well, I'll glue them in at the bottom first. Once I've got them glued in on the bottom, I will show you the pre-gluing it to everything else phase. Want to do that? Actually no, I'm afraid I'm going to have to glue all three simultaneously, because if I don't do that, I'll end up just throwing glue everywhere as I try to reach inside and around things. So unfortunately this is going to be a straight up get everything done, find out where everything lines up or not, and then show you what it looks like in the end. So hopefully I've done everything right, the beveling is perfect, well not perfect, or at least so that the points meet, the corners meet on the exterior and there's gaps on the interior, and not so bothered about the odd gap on the interior. It should be fine. So onwards and to the walls, and I shall see thee in a mo. Quick aside, I have just spot glued this wall to the ceiling here once I've realigned everything, and that's partly to hold the alignment and partly just to keep these floors flush with each other, because it'll help with gluing the walls in place, because it helps to keep this all equally level. So yeah, next up is attaching all the walls, and I shall get that done and I'll be back in a second. Here we have it then, I've fitted all of the walls, and as you can see it's come up alright, but as we get in closer you can start to see there's overlaps, there's a bit of a gap there, there's overlaps. I mean, I've done my best to fit it as tight as possible. Overlaps here with a bit of a gap running down where basically the beveling isn't completely perfect, and oh god, I just noticed some glue that I missed. Oops, now it looks like bird poo, which is fine, it just means a bird pooed on the windowsill. And you can see sort of there's little gaps here and there, and then that edge there. So now there's some sanding and filling to be done. There's that gap there. Also, as much as this first wall was aligned, everything flush, as I rotate around you can see that it starts to lift. It's because I was aligning the top edges and I was trying to line everything up. It's just not the easiest fit. However, overall, I think it's looking pretty damn good. I'd live in it. There's still various details missing as well. So next up, I'm just going to go over this. I'm going to fill it and sand it. And then I'll need to somehow touch up the paintwork. I'm not really sure how to do that. I'll have to do, well, I am sure how to do it by hand with a brush. But I don't want to do too much, so I might just end up running a slight different colour just down the corners, just so it acts as like a highlight, you know, just running a white or something, or a light, very light grey down the corner edges. That'll be my highlight, and also it will be my concealer. So I'm going to crack on with cleaning up this exterior, and I'll be back in a mo. Here we have it then. For the minute I'm going to call it quits, mostly just because I'm not quite sure how to do the next bit. So to give you a sense of scale, I just put some miniatures in there as well, so you can see on the first floor there the Oyoroi on the rooftop, and the second floor you have I was going to say Ashigaru, which is like means Lightfoot, which is the old term for sort of light spearmen, regular dudes, but it's not. It's something Kidabutai, which means good soldiers, I think, something like that. But as you can see, as I've been sanding, I have been shearing paint away. This was expected and anticipated, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about correcting it. But correct it I shall. I might even run some kind of cladding down the corners of the building, but even so that doesn't change the fact that I still need to repaint. I mean, as you can see, it's big. I mean, look, I think I can. Oh, basically when I made this, I wanted to make it big enough so that at a later date I can make some kind of helipad, and that can sit on one side of the building, and that way it would be like, oh, it's the super exec building, you know. Maybe even have the drop ship for the guys come and land in on the roof. Yeah, like I say, these corners are not perfect. The other big issue I have at the moment is that there is a gap along the bottom edge, so this is all going to get resolved. I think I'm going to have to do some kind of cladding, possibly around the bottom edge, and also ideally I think down these corners, but I think it will look quite good because where it intersects with this, it will look like some kind of reinforcement that's running down the entire height of the building. I think that could work quite well. So for the moment though, I hope your model making is going well and that you're making amazing models for your games, or just because you like making models. Hope this has been some interest or use to you, and that everything's going well for you. Thanks for watching the video, have a good one and take care. Bye bye.